Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's broadcast of On the Other Line Canada. For any of you that didn't check it out last night, I think I got him in a little bit of hot water. My last question for Bryce was, who fishes better? And Trebled wife reached out to me, and I wouldn't say she had some choice words, but I definitely won't want to be encroaching on her fishing spot. So, no black eyes. We're going to introduce him, the man himself, Bryce Big B of Trebled Life. Bryce, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks for having me, man.
How much trouble were you in last night? I'm dying to know.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say because this is live, so.
Well, Dawn did inform. Yeah, Dawn did inform me last night that she's got some yellow pages kicking around, so we won't be able to see the bruises. But I hope your recovery goes well. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but Bryce, welcome to the show. I know we've got a lot of topics to talk about this week, and how's it been going for you this year? I know that obviously we're going to talk about this, the new normal. You guide, it's severely impacted your business, and we're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. But I like to ask everyone when we get into the show right off the bat. Where did it all begin for you? What gave you the passion for fishing?
From a very young age, my parents and my grandpa always took me out fishing. So I'd have to say it's all from family time. From basically 4 years old on, I always fished with my parents when I was able to.
Very cool. I mean, we start them young, right? I think we pretty much talk about that every week. We've all started at a young age, and at one point or another, we've probably fallen out of it. I know I have, but look at you now. You've got the best view on the lake. And
exactly right.
Living overlooking what is one of my favorite lakes for big fish, which is Lake Newell. And, you guide there a lot, which, we were talking about earlier at the start of the show and last night as well. Obviously right now with the restrictions, what does guiding look like for you right now?
It's almost non-existent. Like, in order to follow the restrictions, we can't really put anybody in our shacks. We can't do a whole lot. It's basically ruined our entire ice season. Our open water, we did all right, but our ice season is basically non-existent for guiding.
Right, which is obviously a pretty big impact on your business, because I would have to assume maybe ice fishing. Is ice fishing one of your top seasons when it comes to guiding for Lake Newell?
Oh, easily, yeah. That's our busy season for sure. Summer is really unpredictable. Sometimes we'll get those crazy windstorms and it's a little harder to book, or people are on vacation. But winter, everybody's looking for something to do. So it's definitely our busy season, and it's hurt the pocketbook this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So checking in, we got Barb. Hi, Barb. Welcome to the show. Kevin Fedoric says to say sexy beard.
Why, thank you.
I don't know if maybe you have some guide life beard tips, do you there, or you just kind of let her grow?
If you grow it, it's like 10% better fishing skills right off the bat. So you got to treat it good. You got to comb it out, make sure it's all good.
Dude, I've been trying 7 years to grow this beast out, so this is about as good as it gets. Hey, Andrew, welcome to the show. Andrew McManus just saying, only time I ever got a guide, and it was Trebled Life, best guide. Can't wait to do it again. So,
thanks, Andrew.
We definitely have a lot of people, looking forward to guiding opening back up. I know I do my best. It's important. I always tell people that, there's something you're going to learn from a guide or fishing with someone new that you wouldn't have known before. And that's kind of what we touch base on this show as well. We've got some tips coming from you, but not just supporting the business, but really getting out and being able to experience what so many of you as pro guides are able to offer us.
Yeah. It doesn't matter on your skill level either, whether you're consider yourself a seasoned veteran, there's always still something to learn.
Dude, you make me feel like a rookie when I fish with you. I've been out a few times and I'm like, oh, I'm too nervous to either hook bait or unhook fish because I'm worried I'm going to be judged. But at the end of the day, it's all about the education component. And
that's what we pride ourselves on, is that you leave learning something you didn't know when you got here.
Yeah. One aspect I love of your business, which is really important too, and I know you're on here, Dawn, and I told Dawn last night after she gave me the gears that, hey, we got to get you on the show. Dawn is also working with you in the business as far as guiding, more focused towards women experiencing the opportunity of being able to get out and fish, right?
Absolutely.
Which I think is phenomenal. I mean, that helps build the sport, right? It shouldn't matter age or gender or anything like that. Everyone should be able to experience that. So,
absolutely. And it's a confidence thing. Not a lot of people really feel confident going out with somebody, I guess, in my stature. So she has the comfortability level to take a lot of different people that usually wouldn't book with me or Mitch or a lot of the other guys per se, like just having that familiarity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes total sense. I just think it's awesome what you guys are doing, and I really hope that it gets to the point where it opens up. I encourage anyone that hasn't checked them out on social media or isn't familiar with Bryce and Trebled Life or Dawn, you guys should definitely go on and check them out. We're hoping, I'm hoping maybe you get a chance to recover a little bit for the ice season. I know there's a little bit left, but with the way things are going this year, who knows, right? I mean, they're calling for another cold snap. Things are supposed to warm up again. So fingers are crossed for you, brother. But we hope it comes around. So let's see who else we got checking in. We got Rob. Hey, Rob, good evening. Dawn is definitely on here. She's giving you the gears. I won't even repeat what she's saying because I'm scared of her, man. I don't know what's going to happen next time we tangle. You and I talked about this last night. The four of us have a little competition, hopefully, for ice season. So I already talked to my boss here, and she says, let's get her set up. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, I guess, later.
Absolutely.
Well, Bryce, what's your favorite body of water? I'm going to guess, but I won't say the answer. I'll let you do the answering. What's your favorite body of water we're going to focus on today?
It's honestly Lake Newell. That's why I moved out here. It's got monster pike, monster walleye, and having it in my own backyard, nothing beats it.
Yeah, you have the best view in the whole lake. So I usually try to wave at you through the window when I'm out there fishing away. You can't miss me. I can usually hear the Dodge rolling down the road there coming over for a visit. So it is a phenomenal lake. I mean, you guys have monster fish there. As we saw in the intro video, some of the fish that you've caught there are just absolute hogs.
Absolutely, yeah.
What do you think about it becoming the next record lake for something to come out of? You think that has some potential?
I think it has huge potential for it, being catch and release for a number of years now and still being relatively untouched compared to some of the central Alberta lakes. I think we have big potential to see a 50-plus inch pike come out of here soon.
Yeah, I would love to be that guy. I know we've seen so many large ones come out of there. The big thing is, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the show, is handling, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you see it all the time. The number one key for us to be able to get this lake to the point where it is going to be a record holder is doing our due diligence as individuals that are catching to make sure that we're doing the proper release and stuff like that as well, and ensuring that these fish live to get to that record size, right?
Exactly. These 20-pounders need to be treated with utmost respect and put back in a timely manner. We see far too many videos and pictures on social media of them laying on the ice or frozen fins, frozen eyeballs. Like, it is a catch and release lake, and we got to treat it as such, right?
I would agree with you. And I think at one point or another, we've all kind of been guilty with handling. I mean, it happens. I've had fish with a deep hook set that I do my best to try and make sure it's a quick, speedy recovery. And it even goes outside of ice fishing season, right? I mean, obviously, winter's one thing. Summer, spring, and fall, it's still important for us to be able to handle the fish properly. Especially
once we get these hotter, warmer water temperatures, like that stresses them out just as much. Lack of oxygen. You see it a lot in the fins. A lot of people, they don't realize, like, the fins tell a lot of the story. You see a lot of bright red fins when outside of spawning season. That's a stressed fish.
Right. I actually never thought about that. That's a pretty valid point. And I think we've all seen some pictures lately on Facebook, I think, of that exact situation with a lot of these big fish, right? I mean, I would have to expect that these fish this time, really any time of the season, are being caught multiple times, and it's up to us that, you know, if we're going to have the next person enjoy that experience, that we're doing our part. I think we've all seen our share of floaters on the lake, right? Which is unfortunate.
Sadly, yeah.
Yeah. I'm supposed to tell you, Marcy says that she's just going to win the competition with Dawn. So
I don't think so.
Yeah, little do they know we've decided we're going to do it on a minus 40 day. No heat, no shacks. We're just going to buckle up, and we'll see how that works. We'll have a little heat box for the fish for safe release.
We'll have the power auger. We'll give them the hand auger. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, 3 feet of ice, ladies. Competition. You know what's going to happen is Marcy and I both have a thing for online shopping. Next thing you know, she's going to have the 10-inch auger in the garage and practice drilling holes out in the pond out back on Stony. And who knows, we might have a challenge inbound here. But she still has to bait the hook. So got a slight advantage here. She'll have to start training up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Dawn and Marcy are going back and forth here a little bit. Apparently we're delusional. I'll digress from that. So we're going to talk target species. We like to every week with co-hosts. Bryce, this week you've picked pike.
Yeah.
Do I really need to ask why pike is your target species? I mean, you're the pike guy, right?
Yeah. Well, in Alberta, they're the apex predator. There's nothing more aggressive, more ferocious than the pike in Alberta.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, you don't dare get a finger anywhere near them. You know, you made the joke last night about chumming the hole.
Yeah.
Been there. I don't think it's usually an outing with me unless I'm bleeding, is typically what always happens. And just when I think I've escaped the trip without it, usually that last fish gets me.
That's usually my saying. If you ain't fishing, or if you ain't bleeding, you ain't fishing.
Well, if that's the case, I fish a lot. Well, Bryce, what do you have this week for some pike tackle tips for us?
For tackle tips, nothing beats good old-fashioned Len Thompson spoons. If you have to have anything in your box, carry a Len Thompson. They're made in our own backyard. I mean, nobody can get by without having at least one Len Thompson in their box. Yeah. Savage lures have been a huge asset. If you carry big enough gear to throw some of those really big Savage lures, it's almost a guarantee you're gonna come into a big pike, especially if you're fishing lakes known for the big pikes.
I know I have a few Savage gears kind of hanging off the wall in the garage right now. What are you finding, like, as far as Savage gear? You know, like, I know Rapala and guys like those have large baits with those rubber tails. What's your experience? Like, obviously you're using a lot of that. My big thing is, you know, you're paying $20, $25 for a setup that typically, depending on the brand, they're only lasting 1 or 2 fish. Is that your experience with a lot of what you're seeing down there?
Yeah, a lot with the Savage gear. But if you bring a torch or a lighter with you, you can usually do a lot of quick repairs on a lot of those rubber baits. After a pike kind of bites into it and starts ripping it up, heat it up a little bit, stick it together, and you're good to go for another couple fish for sure.
That's actually a wicked tip. That's something I've never done. So
yeah.
I think I better make sure I pack a lighter around in my pocket, because I know I've gone through my fair share. I've found that the Rapalas typically will last a little bit longer.
Yeah.
As you know, one big fish, right? They're pretty scrappy. They're gonna just destroy anything that's near those teeth. So
absolutely. And the other big thing is know your troll speed or know your retrieve speed. Doesn't matter what lure it is. If you're not doing the appropriate speed, that lure isn't doing what it's supposed to do. I see far too many people trying to troll 2 different lures at the same time off their boats, and their lure is designed to go at different speeds, and you're not going to have the same luck as if you appropriately match your speed to that lure.
That's very valuable advice. I mean, I guess it really starts with knowing your tackle and what it's designed for depth-wise as well, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, because I know, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of these larger baits are typically in that 3 to 5 foot mark.
Yeah.
So, yeah, speed actually, again, something I never thought about. That's got a huge factor. And I just thought you were trying to, like, serenade me, you know, when we go out in the boat for a little tour, you just nice and slow through the weeds and watch the sunset. And I guess there was a reason for it, and it wasn't what I thought it was. It was actually to catch fish. So a couple of really good tips there. I especially like the lighter repair. We might have to do a little section on that. So if you want to start ripping some gear apart here in the next few months,
absolutely.
Maybe that's a little section we could do, because I wouldn't even know where to start there. I'd probably burn myself. So
I've even put a few lures back together using parts of other lures just to get them back on the water. And we call them frankenfish when they're a trout body with a perch tail.
Yeah.
Still works.
We've all been there and done that. It's the whole one last cast, one last fish.
Exactly. Yeah.
One last many of things to be able to get by, right?
Absolutely.
Well, we got Bill Allen, who checks in weekly. Now, you want to talk about some heat. This dude's at the hospital watching us instead of watching his wife, is what Kevin's accusing him of. He's got a baby on the way. So, Bill, congratulations. Thanks for checking in. We appreciate it. I hope we don't get you in too much trouble.
And take the little one fishing.
Right? Straight out of the womb. What were you doing when I was born? I was watching On the Other Line Canada. It was pretty sweet. Well, Bill, congratulations, youngster, on the way. I know we've been trying to get out and get some fishing done, but that will probably have to wait a few more weeks just to kind of save you some grief. We got Vishal, lots of comments from Kevin and Andrew. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We're going to go into the next topic. And you know what I'm going to do? We're a little bit ahead of schedule, and we talked about this. I think he's ready. I see him sitting there, and I see him changing hats. So we're going to bring Mitch in. Mitch.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, not bad, you?
Oh, good.
How's the week? You had a rough day? Was it work or fish related?
No, it was migraine related. So I look a little not at the top of my game tonight, probably.
It's the weather change, right?
Or it's all the smoke welding.
Welder life.
Yeah, great.
Well, thanks for coming on again this week, Mitch, because you brought something up last night after I got Bryce in trouble with that fifth question. And I'm like, dude, I should have just saved him the grief and asked him this question. We're talking about Lucky Charms. Now, I've had a tough go, and I tried to stay positive. I was out with Alex, Ty, and Lee last week. We went for bulls, and I'm not going to lie. I made the hike. I tried to be positive, or as positive could be, and it resulted in 0 fish. And something you told me and I forgot to do was bring a second hat. So, I don't know if anyone out there has Lucky Charms. Mitch, is your Lucky Charm another hat to kind of turn from no fish to fish?
Man, I don't know. I got one fish, landed it, then I'm like, I just had this feeling I had to change my hat. So I went to the truck and grabbed a handful of hats and just started. I got it, switched the hat, boom, another one within 2 minutes. I'm like, oh shoot, I better change my hat again. And then there was another one. I went through like 4 or 5 pike and 4 or 5 burbs, just switching those hats. And that's the hottest bite I've had all year.
So basically with us going to Cold Lake next week, I don't know if 15 hats is enough. I'll bring them. Bryce, what about you? Do you have any lucky stashes in your pockets, lucky coins?
Not really any Lucky Charms per se, but a few superstitions for sure.
Yeah, like what?
If you want to catch a fish, distract yourself with something else. As soon as you're doing something else, that's when you're going to get that bite.
You know what? Actually, you're 100% right, because when we were fishing last week, I wasn't even trying. I was just literally packing up, and I just went, I'll give her a couple more, and looking at something shiny as usual. And sure enough, bite. But me being as slow as I am, because the air is thin at this height, didn't happen, didn't stay on, right? So that's how it goes. Mitch, what about your superstitions? No bananas in the boat, or?
I don't got too many. I just have these weird things, I just get these impulses and I have to do them. So if I don't, I think I'm not gonna get that fish, and it's like weighs on me, and I got to do it, and then it usually works.
Yeah, and actually, that brings up something else, and I can ask both of you here, with your experience even in guiding. I know for myself, I try to take someone new out and introduce them to the sport. I don't know how you do it from a pressure standpoint. Do you guys ever feel like there's that constant pressure to perform when you're guiding or you're out with somebody new to show them the experience of how good you are at catching fish?
Absolutely, yeah. But I mean, a lot of people understand it's fishing, not catching, right? So you're not always going to get that 20-pounder, but if they see that you're working hard to try and get them that 20-pounder, they're going to see you're doing what they're paying you to do. So there is the pressure, but it's the same amount of pressure whether we're catching or not. I'm still doing my best to make sure they're getting into fish.
Yeah. What about you, Mitch?
Yeah, definitely. The first 20 minutes is sometimes just a killer. Like you go to location, it's hitting good, but till that first fish is on, you kind of sweat bullets for a bit. Then you usually get into the groove, and it's just like once you're in your groove, it's good because fish are getting in the boat and people are happy.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Scott Stewart's just saying that there's always pressure, even the pressure of not being skunked, which I can't say that for you two. I mean, I'm sure we've all been there in some degree, but for myself, it's really hard to stay positive at those times. There's some choice words flying around the tent at that point.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I always just if there's nothing there, you got to move. I only give spots 15, 20 minutes. If I'm not hooked up, I'm moving. And if I'm not, it's because I'm by myself and I'm just being lazy.
Yeah, I usually have the result of actually catching fish when I'm fishing alone, which at this point in the season, I'm starting to wonder if maybe I'm just destined to fish alone and Marcy will go her way and still outfish me, and we'll see what happens. The real test will be this weekend because we're going to see the Little Johns at Adventure Ice Fishing. We're going to spend a couple nights up there, so if anyone wants to pop by and say hi, I'm told the bite is hot until I get there. So I guess we'll see what happens. I'm not 100% sure. We'll just see.
Well, the burbs are starting to pick up there. They're just starting into pre-spawn when I was there last time, so it should be a good bite if you get on them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Bryson, maybe this is a stupid question. Is there much of a burbot lifestyle at Newell? I haven't caught one down there, so.
There is, but the pike seem to find them a lot quicker than the fishermen do. If anybody's looking for burbot, you got to go out from Kinbrook and go to the deep water. You got to be in that 40, 50-foot mark, and that's where you're going to find them in this lake.
Wow. Which, I mean, let's face it, at this point in the season, is that really something anyone's really willing to risk out there? I mean, I mean,
if you're walking out, it's pretty safe. I know there's a few guys that are willing to make that trip out there, but I'd leave your truck in the parking lot for that one.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Actually, that kind of goes into our next topic, right?
Yeah.
Been seeing a lot of people this year, two more again the other day, just went through Wabaman.
Yeah.
We were at Crawling Valley last week. Someone else found, a spot where they ended up going through. Newell, you kind of mentioned it. Now, I actually took your tip for Newell. Last year when we did a trip, Darren, yourself, and I, we didn't even go far offshore. And I said, Bryce, dude, there's 2 feet of ice. And I specifically remember you saying, Lake Newell, never trust the ice.
Absolutely.
And I think it's proven itself again this year. I know you've been involved in some rescue missions in the past out there, but
all the time.
You're seeing a lot of guys again down there go through, right?
This year especially, it's been a very warm year. We're getting some pretty warm spells, and then we're getting the crazy wind. We're going from 20 inches of ice to 10 inches of ice back to 20 inches, and people drill that hole. They see that 20 inches of ice, and they're like, "Oh, I'm good. I'll drive out there with my 1-ton dually." And it's that's some pretty rotten ice, even if it is 20 inches, right?
Yeah, it makes total sense. Mitch, what about you? I know you've been touring some lakes this year as well. What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, Central Alberta, the ice is pretty thick. There's the spots though where those springs are, and if you don't know where they are, it's going to be thinner, and that's where the people go through most of the time. Like
Yeah.
one time, or well, this is totally different, but early ice, like me and Ryan Brown had to save a guy on a trout lake, and he was sitting 30 feet of water, just clinging like this. And it probably took us 5 minutes to get him out of there, and he didn't want to move or let go of that ice, and it was quite the adventure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've actually heard that story from Ryan as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's everybody's worst nightmare, right? Of having to experience that. I know Bryce, even earlier in the season here, I sent you a video of a dude in his dually Dodge out bombing around the bay on 10 inches of ice. And
Yeah.
all I could do with him being 1.5 miles away is video it and go, dude, if you don't go through, you've got someone looking out for you for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, you can tell people, but not everybody listens, right? Like, we've had a few trucks this year where they're on 10 inches ice and they make it. And then we've had some guys go through on 18 inches ice. They find that spot that's not quite thick enough. And there's been a lot of trucks go through this year. There's even been a quad and a couple shacks. Like, it's very unpredictable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know when I fished down there last month, I had to walk around a section of open water. Now, obviously, where I was walking was safe, but it went from like 4 inches to 14 inches to 20 inches, which was just crazy. And it just goes to show with a lake that size, it's not to be trusted whatsoever, especially with winds.
Exactly. And a lot of people think if they stick close to the shore, they're safer, but the shoreline is probably the worst spot to be cruising around. It's because you're getting all the heat from the rocks, the land, all the runoff is rotting all that ice right up. So, like, just because you're close to shore doesn't mean it's a safe place to be.
Yep, that makes total sense. And on that topic of safety, unfortunately, we heard this weekend about the couple that didn't have proper overnight gear with their CO2 detector, and unfortunately, they passed away. And we talked to Adam last week about overnight camping and stuff like that, and the experience is next to none for sure. But safety is of utmost importance, and I
Absolutely.
think it's kind of been a bit of a warning, right? I don't know about you guys, but it seems like we're hearing a lot more about people that unfortunately are losing their lives over what to us seems like simple stuff, but just, that due care and diligence.
It's just easy to overlook certain things. And I mean, these people, they think just because they're not feeling the effects of it, that it's not happening, but you got to have that proper airflow, whether you're in a tent, shack, or anywhere really. You got to have that airflow.
Yeah. Have that CO2 sensor too. Like if you're staying over, even camping, if you're using any sort of heater in your tents or anything, you should have one just in case the propane's leaking or anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I actually had someone tell me, it's okay because my heater has low oxygen sensor, it'll just cut off. But I mean, typically in my experience, if your heater's already getting to that point, then there's a good possibility that, there is some form of damage already done. I know I've left experiences before where, it's so cold outside, you're trying to batten down the hatches. And then when you're driving home later, you're like, I probably didn't get in enough oxygen like I should be there. And, it doesn't take much, like you said, right?
Well, a lot of people don't take into consideration that the heater's on the floor, but they're sitting well above it. So all those gases are up where you are, nowhere near that sensor on your heater, right?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I know I've been actually thinking about with my shack this year of probably putting in a circulation fan. When I fished with my buddy Alex there last week, he was actually concerned about us having a gas heater in the tent and getting a headache. And I was like, what do you mean a headache? Like, are you you have allergy problems or are you allergic to me? And he's like, no, last time I went out with someone, they just had a sunflower heater, right? And those sunflowers don't have low oxygen sensors. And he's like, I had such a bad headache for a couple of days. And I'm like, Dude, that's a safety issue right there, right? I mean, it's bad enough we're putting heat in some of these shacks that have a tendency to melt under flame.
Yeah.
And now you're dealing with that. Actually, we got a question here from Vishal. Any tips on fishing from shore? And because pike is, our species topic today, Bryce, any tips for Vishal for fishing for pike from shore?
It depends on where you are. Slow retrieve. If you're fishing in flowing water, cast at a 45-degree angle out and then bring it up the river so you can reel it in really slow, but you'll have the action due to the flowing water. Will really help you out. If you're baiting, try to keep it off the ground a little bit. So if make your own pickerel rigs. You don't have to buy those cheap ones from the store. Make your own. Make them hardy. 50-pound mono, 50-pound fluoro. You're going to be a lot better off than trying to use these store-bought cheap ones. And use fresh bait. The fresher you can. If it's food grade, you're way better off than spending the huge bucks at buying the frozen non-food grade ones from any of the stores.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I would agree. Mitch, what about you?
Yeah, when I go for pike, if I'm fishing from shore, it's usually in the spring because they usually hold a little tighter. And I love tucking topwater. I love topwater fishing. Big Zara spooks, woodchucks, just something to make noise, and they'll just nail them.
It's actually funny you mentioned that. When we went to Wisconsin, that's a lot of topwater stuff for pike. I have a couple lures actually out in the garage in my case. I haven't even used them yet, along with a couple that Scott Connolly recommended when we were in Manitoba. And maybe that'll be my focus this year is I'll start chucking some topwater stuff and see what happens.
Yeah,
throw some of those bass lures, like any of the bass lures, the big spinner baits, the 3D rats, 3D mice, anything like that. If it's meant for a bass, pike are going to hammer it.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, like some of our trips in the Yukon in those back bays, we just use huge topwater, and you just hit right against the weeds. Slow retrieve, just let it sit, and you can just watch the ripples go, and it just sends a shockwave, and that gets their attention. And then start retrieving that, make that movement. And those Zara spooks just shoot across back and forth like this, and they just smash them. Sometimes there's 3 or 4 wakes all coming at once. It's amazing.
Could you troll with something topwater like that? Would it be worth it?
You can. You just got to match your speed. Like we troll a lot. Like one of the most underrated things we do is we use those Savage 3D rats, and we actually troll them. We troll them a lot, and I mean we've caught a lot of the big pictures you see of our open water pike. Those were caught on topwater lures being trolled.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
I'll have to try it. I've never topwater trolled.
Maybe we should try.
I would recommend it. You got to grab a few of those rats and try it out.
Oh, my grandpa's favorite was the mouses in the Yukon. Yeah. That was his favorite thing. We'd always get them from Bass Pro and bring them up for him. And he just loved those mouses.
That would actually be pretty cool. I might have to buy some mice. Obviously not live mice, but that's a whole nother topic in a place that isn't Alberta.
Right? Got to be a few provinces over for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I got Dino saying maybe you've had to bail him out a couple times there, Bryce. I'm going to call him out on that. He says you rescued him twice.
Yeah, this is true.
Once
I put up a post on my page saying if anybody needs anything at all, if you ever have stranded, you ever need help, you give me a call. And Dino took that one to heart for sure.
I think it's exceptional that you do that. I mean, everyone down there, I think it's like anything, right? When you go for a trip, you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
We hear horror stories all the time. And I think it's really the cool thing about the fishing community is chances are there's someone I'll even say friend or foe that if you're in a bind, they're going to be there to help you out. I've even been in a bind a couple times, and couple guys here out of the 3 of us have lent me bait, hooks. But most importantly, if the Ford breaks down, right? I'll say Ford, but I really mean Dodge, Bryce, no offense. But
yeah, right.
2 Ford guys versus a Dodge guy. Again, that's a whole nother show.
Two wrongs, one right.
2 wrongs, 1 right. Well, I'd offer to race you on the ice over it, but we know we don't really want to drive on Newell. So we've actually got a lot of tips about ice safety and propane. Kevin, and I know Scott does this too, but Kevin's saying that he slips a 4-inch ABS under the skirt of his tent, plus runs the buddy fan and the ceiling fan. You know, that's amazing. It's all about that air intake and that circulation. We did that at Cold Lake last year, and I got the drafty side. It wasn't fun, but it's short-term pain.
Yeah.
What else we got on here? Sunflowers will kill you. Oh, that's right. Adam's saying he's stoked to see Bryce on here.
How's it going, Adam?
Yeah. I think Adam's probably getting ready for work, right, Adam? I'm sure you're there somewhere. He's still on the night shifts. We're trying to get him to come up for next week. He's saying, when Newell is in question, I talk to Big B, and he helps me big time with weather, and I know if I'm ever in trouble, he's there.
Absolutely.
Well, that's pretty awesome to know, and I guess it sounds like everybody watching this is now going to be adding you on Facebook for when they're in a bind, so you might have to repaint that truck into a rescue vehicle and start your own business. Could be a new business opportunity for you.
Yeah, I was thinking that. A couple more rescues, and I'm going to throw some big winch on there, and I'll have a recovery rig.
Big B's rescue, right? I mean, there's probably some pretty good money in ice rescues. I don't know what they're going to do with. Do you guys know anyone that's actually put their vehicle to the bottom of the lake?
I haven't seen anybody put one completely through, but there's been a lot of front ends go through, and we have seen a bunch of shacks actually go through. Anybody who's fished the south end of the lake, I'm sure, has seen that one shack stack still sticking out of the water.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. It was there for quite a while, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would hate to have to deal with that. Oh, Adam's saying he's back today, so I guess we can quit picking on him. And Dino's saying he's getting more stuck now. Dino, we'll have that conversation later. Adam's saying apparently one went to the bottom yesterday.
Huh.
So, wouldn't surprise me at all.
Same here. I mean, actually, I think it was Dino that had a picture of those guys literally waiting their shack out of there earlier this year, right? I mean, it's just been so mild.
Yeah, and I'd posted a picture. Like, a lot of the guys got their shacks off when we were forecasted that 140K wind, but some didn't. And, I mean, they regretted it after that.
Yeah, it seems like those high winds have been hitting everywhere, you know. I don't know if Kevin's still on here, but I saw someone walking out of a certain store with replacement poles for a certain someone named Kevin. Now, I don't know if it's true, but speculation from the city guy here is that he didn't strap things down. So, we've been seeing pictures again everywhere of not strapping your shack down and what happens, right? I mean, if you find it after those big windstorms.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, makes total sense. Mike's just asking what lake. We're talking lakes in general, but Lake Newell is infamous for all kinds of damage. I think Newell is best put that Adam told me the first time I ever fished it was go prepared. And I didn't go prepared, and I didn't know what he meant. There's so many avenues of not being prepared when it comes to Newell. So
whether it's summer or winter, it'll change in a heartbeat, and a lot of people figure that out the hard way. Like, you got to pay attention to the weather, not just the forecast.
It's a huge
part.
The
forecast can be deceiving. A lot of people will look at that and they'll think, oh, I'm good to go. I'll venture off super far. And the next thing you know, that 100K wind is keeping them 20 kilometers from home, right?
Absolutely. So, talking about a little bit of research, for me on my phone, I use the Global Sky Tracker. I've always found, especially when I did snow removal, that it was pretty accurate, precise, when it came to snowfall, wind, stuff like that. What do you guys use?
I honestly, there's a local guy around here, Brandon Huck. He does a lot of live forecasts. He's one to follow if you don't already. He does a lot of the Canadian weather. He's really, really reliable when it comes to the weather. But mainly, I just keep an eye on it myself. You can usually see or feel when those changes are coming, and you got to be prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
no. Every situation when you're on those lakes, it can change in a second. Like Bryce was saying, like I've been in some crazy spots and it hits. And luckily I got a big boat that can take those waves on those lakes. So I'm lucky that way. And you just got to know how to get back so you're not going to capsize and stuff too, is another skill to have when that wind picks up. But I don't use anything fancy. Weather Network, that's good enough for me.
You just do this, lift the finger, just test it.
Yeah, then look into the sky, see which way the clouds are going, which way the moon's rotating is always a good one.
I've had a couple of bad experiences because I didn't do my due diligence, and one of them was Gull, right? I mean, you get those windstorms coming down the tunnel there, and, it resulted me in kind of being stuck on the south end for almost 4 hours and, having to get trailered back to camp because, I mean, what do you do? And at the end of the day, as much as we love fishing, it's definitely not worth the risk of not coming home at the end of the day, right? So...
yeah, those shallow lakes like Gull, that thing whips up so fast because those waves can get made so quickly because there's just not that depth of water. And it goes, once they start going, they're going. And if you don't have the right boat and not prepared, you can get...
Or how to use your boat too. A lot of guys try to rip back as fast as they can in those crazy weather and they're not keeping their bow up. You get one good wave over the bow and you're going to ruin your day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And it's like that for every season, right? If you don't know what you're doing, ask. Try not to learn from experience because, as we mentioned earlier, the ultimate price to pay is not making it home. So, as a community, we're all there to support each other and make sure that the experience is number one, right? So...
and that's why I put up my post when I did, is if anybody gets stranded somewhere on Newell due to the weather, I'll always come help you out. There's no issue with that. I'd rather you get home safe than try to get across that lake when you shouldn't.
I think I'm just going to move in. I mean, I'm pretty sure you and Don could make some space for us. I know Marcy loves fishing Newell. Maybe we'll just hang out in your garage or something like that. We're within walking distance of the lake. No big deal.
Well, the garage is my space. You can have the basement. There's a pool table down there.
Done deal. Got room for Aaron too. Like, come on down.
Well, I'll just pop my tent up in the backyard.
Yeah,
we've had people do that, so you guys are more than welcome. Come camping at
Newell. Now.
Yeah, poor Bryce will have a tent city. We'll all be set up down there. It's actually funny. Because, what's that, Mitch?
Little hobo village back there. We'll have barbecues and big fire going, and everyone will just be living the dream.
Hey, for the right price, I'll even fire up the smoker for everybody.
Oh, dang.
I just got your attention.
I guess we better give notice now. Hey, Marcy's on board, Bryce, so look out. Well, here we go. Adam's got a question on here. Question for Bryce. Moving into February now, in your experience, how do you find the pike are moving in the lake? And are you on a heavy feed, roaming, or are they more settled into their zones?
I find this time of year, depending on the water, like how the weather's been, they're definitely putting on their feed bag. They're moving kind of back into the shallows a little bit near the end of February because they're going to start spawning March, April. So right now they'll probably be in the 8 to 10 feet, but in another couple weeks they're going to be back into that 5-6 feet of water range for the big girls.
Makes total sense. Yeah, absolutely. So what you're saying is almost time to make that trip down there for this competition.
Absolutely.
Might have to get on that. I think. What's that, Mitch?
March Madness.
March Madness. Speaking of madness, I don't suppose we could convince Bryce to get in on this. Mitch and I are going to be in the madness next week as we go to the Cold Lake ice fishing tournament.
Oh, yeah.
You want to come with, Bryce, or maybe come chase some Lakers with us?
Well, we'll chat about that for sure.
Greg Rice is on there. Greg saying he's been meaning to come down for the last couple seasons and never does. I mean,
he's Greg, a busy guy, but that's no excuse. He's got to make his way down here.
You know, I think it's an excuse with Greg, right? I think he's got something against the South. We all get to see what Greg does in the North, but when we don't see him, I've seen him fish down here, and the dude does amazing, but busy is as busy does, I guess.
I'll sign his permission slip if he comes down here.
Oh, permission slip granted. Greg, you better jump the truck now. I'll bring him back from Cold Lake with me. He can ride in the box.
There you go.
With Cold Lake coming next week, as we're out of focus, we're actually, Mitch and I haven't finalized it, but we'll probably be doing a special broadcast there next week, Mitch, of bragging about how I caught the largest fish of the tournament.
Well, did you see Matt Weaver the other day, 37-incher?
I did not see that.
A couple days ago. Hog.
Wow. I'll have to jump on and check that out.
Yeah, so I told him I just needed that spot for the tourney, and he sounded like it'd be cool, but we'll see.
Well, I'm already strapping GPS trackers on a few people's vehicles, so it seems like everyone's making it aware of who's going. So I've been just doing my tour the last week, you know, middle of the night, dropping some trackers on vehicles, and, you know, I think it'll pay off for me.
Oh, it'll be good. Erin's going to make the trip too, so she always catches the big ones, so.
That'll be amazing. Bryce, have you ever chased Lakers? Have you been to Cold Lake before?
I haven't been to Cold, but I've chased Lakers in a few other areas, and I love it. That deep water fishing, nothing beats that.
There is something to be said about that, isn't there? And at the rate things are going, I think we're all going to be walking on. Again, a big lake to drive on, but, you know, typically this time of the year, it's a little bit thicker ice, so I guess we'll kind of see what happens.
Yeah, Cold Lake is generally pretty good this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing. I might just be keeping an eye on Greg. That dude seems to know the lake, so I guess we'll see what happens. Yeah, Zach Davis is just saying it's going to be insane. I know you were just up there, Zach. So we got Adam calling Greg out on North versus South, so it's a good little friendly competition and banter going on. I love to see that. That goes to show we're all friends here and family.
I'd like to see Adam versus Greg when it comes to sturgeon.
Ooh.
Oh. Now, I can say I've been teammates with Adam in a competition, and will not name the show, but it is on a certain channel. And I've seen Adam and how he catches sturgeon. And I don't know, this could be like maybe a segment, some sort of a head-to-head competition. I don't know if anyone would be up to seeing that. I mean,
I know I would.
No offense, Greg, I love you, but Adam's my guy. You know, I won't say we're betting necessarily, but I would place some money on the horse. I just saw him on TV. The dude's shotgunning rock stars. Like, what's that tell you about how, like, off the charts he is? I think that would be a good competition.
Yeah.
I don't know. Greg got that new jet boat, so it's kind of stepping up his game there for the sturgeon now.
Yeah. That's very valid. Yep, that is a game changer. I think that thing is going to probably definitely kick some butt out on the river. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful boat.
Yeah. What else we got on here? Kit, Zach, hi. Don's still on there. Oh, Adam is just saying Greg catches consistently bigger sturgeon. Gonna leave it alone.
I think he's being modest.
Yeah.
I think we need to start a Facebook survey here and get some rounds of competitions going or something like that.
Start a versus page.
Yeah, hey.
Head to head.
Don't even need to start a page. We'll just put it on our page and see how that goes. A little head-to-head competition. Hey, if anyone's up for a head-to-head competition, let me know. It won't be me because I'll lose at the rate I'm going, but next week's going to be a game changer. Maybe we'll talk more about doing the live, actually this weekend with our overnights at Adventure Ice Fishing. Speaking of contests, we got a couple things coming up. One I haven't made official as of yet. For any of you that don't know, I am part of the Youths Can Fish 2 charity. And for many of you that have donated stuff over the last 6 months, originally for a silent auction opportunity, with the new normal, that's not happening. So I can tell you in the next month or two, we are working on an online auction. And I have a ton of stuff in my room, stuff I wish I could use that I can't. If anyone's interested in donating, I know a few of you have reached out, but we'll try to share more of that on our page and talk about it in a live broadcast. Speaking of contests, Mitch, are we talking about it or no?
No, next week.
Next week.
We'll just say I filmed a show there this year with my good friend Jimmy Hoy from the Dime Store, and we'll leave it at that.
You know what's funny is actually I wasn't going to bring it up because you already said no, so I just wanted to see, seeing as you're having a migraine day, if I could dupe you into it. So we do have a big contest coming. For any of you watching, we haven't set rules or anything like that yet, but if you want to be aware of what's going to happen, Bryce included, we're going to have a pretty big announcement coming up. With that being said as well, for any of you that didn't see the post, Bobby from Bow City Reelers, we're working on a segment with him where he's going to take some time to build a custom rod with us, and we're going to have opportunity for any of you watching or listening to win that, which I think will be really cool. It's kind of the whole idea behind the show. I mean, what do you guys think about a rod building segment on the show?
I think it's incredible.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Like, that takes so much talent. Like, I kind of want to, I keep looking at those rod kits for the ice kits, but I just can't pull the trigger on them.
Yeah, I mean, for me right now, I mean, I have pretty much all my gear behind me is from Gord Wenzel. I've been to his shop, and I'm the same way. I'm like, it's like tying flies. I just feel like there's such a knack to it that, you kind of have, I have sausage fingers, man. I don't think I have the capability of doing that stuff. So, I think that's going to be really cool to watch. And maybe we'll talk to the Rock Hard guys about maybe getting on there and making some tackle. I wouldn't mind helping them out with that. I've done that a time or two.
Once or twice, eh?
Yeah. It's not the same as tying our own pickerel rigs, but got to try something, right?
Another segment.
Actually, speaking of that, Mitch, do you tie your own pickerel rigs? You probably don't even use pickerel rigs. You're like,
I don't use pickerel rigs. I don't fish baited rivers very often. In Central Alberta, there's not very many. So if I go fishing rivers, we're fly fishing and stuff mostly. Yeah. Or throwing small, like, live target browns and rainbow hooks.
Yeah. Makes total sense. What do we got going on here? Greg and Adam want to do a charity fish off for sturgeon. What do you guys think about that?
I say hell yeah.
I think that'd be pretty cool. I'd have to talk to the charity and see how something like that would work. Same with Bobby's opportunity. So, hey, we'd love your guys' input on what's going to happen. And who knows, it might turn into a competition. I know there's lots of groups doing that stuff out there. Scott, I'm going to just not repeat what you said because I don't really know what you mean by that. So I'll just leave it alone. And actually, on that note, the other charity, I don't know if anyone's familiar with it. Lures for Vets, Clarence, I got your stuff. We got some new decals. Anyone that hasn't heard about this great organization as well, Lures for Vets, man, they're doing a phenomenal job on the East Coast. And then he sent me a nice little pamphlet and a whole bunch of stuff here. You guys should check them out. And, of course, Fished Whipped Apparel, right? I mean, everyone has their sponsors they like to give back to. Their, I shouldn't say sponsors, their charities. So, any of those groups, feel free to check them out. Well, we got 5 minutes left, guys. What didn't I cover?
Next weekend, family fishing weekend. 13th through 15th, you don't need a license. Double check those dates, but I'm pretty sure that's what they are. So you can take up your friends and family and get them on the lake, people that haven't experienced ice fishing yet.
That's amazing. There's 2 times of the year where you can do that, if I remember correctly, right?
Correct, yeah.
So basically, Bryce will have the entire Facebook on the Other Line Canada community, adding them for when they come down for free fishing weekend. Bryce, I apologize now.
I don't mind.
Do a big group rate. Get a herd.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Big group.
Minimum 20 people.
Big group rate for Tent City at Bryce's house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, anyone that isn't aware of that free fishing weekend, that's important. You know, for us, a fishing license is not really a lot, but there are a lot of people out there that want to experience it that maybe can't afford that licensing fee. And,
exactly.
You know, I think it'll be a really cool experience. And if you're seeing someone out there on the lake next weekend fishing, there's a good chance maybe they don't know what they're doing or it's their first time. So it's important that we make sure that they're having, you know, a good experience. Have patience if they're 10 feet from your tent. Maybe they don't know. Right?
Like the saying goes, don't hate, educate. If you're handling fish a little differently, teach them how to handle it right. If they don't know the ethics of fishing the way we all do, give them a lesson the right way. Don't be rude about it. Don't start stuff with people.
That makes total sense. Absolutely. I know Ty mentioned it's the snowball rule. If I can hit you with a snowball, you're too close. I'm not saying throw snowballs. Maybe before you throw the snowball, just go over and check, you know, what's going on from a safe distance, obviously. But, yeah, I mean, that one negative experience can affect how everyone feels about it, right? So
you're saying tell them first to move and I don't start throwing snowballs at them?
I'm a hugger, man. I'm just going to be like, if I can reach you with these arms.
They'll probably just run from you anyways. They'll think it's a Sasquatch coming at them, and they'll just be like, I'm out of here.
I'll break out my panda outfit. Actually, you know, we only got a couple minutes left, but I'm changing it up with the Lucky Charm, my first Laker next week. It's my new face.
Yeah, look, it looks a little better.
Be embarrassed now, Mitch. Be embarrassed now. I'm going to be wearing it around the hotel for 3 days. That's my face covering.
That's okay. I'll say you're my special friend.
That's a whole nother world of topics. I can't wait to come on your boat and dump my tackle box.
Well,
all right, guys. Well, we're closing in on that hour. As much as I'd love to sit here all night and talk, I mean, we could talk for hours. Bryce, I want to thank you for joining the show. I know you're nervous. I'm always a little bit nervous before the show. But, you know, a lot of people are going to probably end up reaching out to you. I mean, it's good to have you on here sharing your experience. And I know a lot of it's going to hit home for people. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I don't mind helping people out. That's what I'm here for.
And one of these days we'll have Trebled wife on there to kind of reverse grill her so that you can kind of get even if that works.
I don't know if that ever works like that, though.
The wives having their own show.
Right?
Guys, there's only one way to find out, right? So thanks everyone for joining us this week. Next week we have Chris James of Be a Lion Outdoors. If you don't know who Chris James is, he's been on Naked Afraid. I actually ran into him. We became friends just because I asked him what he was fishing with and tried to steal some tips from him, and he kind of shunned me. So we're going to grill him next week. And guys, thanks for joining us. It's just been an awesome week. For any of you that did give questions, sorry we missed you. Feel free to shoot them to Mitch, Bryce, or myself after the show. We're always here for your comments or feedback. And everyone, have a great week.
Take care.
Thanks, guys.